Well, I grew up in a Catholic church and went to Catholic school until I was 12, until middle school, and then my parents decided to put me in a public school, and then my parents decided that we were going to be Assembly of God, so which is very, very strict, and women have to wear long sleeves and really long skirts. They can't put their hair. It's basically they follow the man's orders. So I know it, because there's a lot of, when I grew up and I didn't know where my place was, because I was just like, well, I don't know if I want to be a Catholic or if I want to, go into the Assembly of God. My question to Dave is, in the Judaism practice, I know that Saturday or Friday, Saturday is a day of worship for that religion. Isn't it also that, I don't know if it's true or not, can they shop, can they do anything like that, or they just basically stay home and go to Bible
It
service?
kind of depends a bit in terms of whether you're Orthodox Jew or conservative or Reform. For Orthodox Jews, though, typically they will not drive a car. They will not they will not use anything that even uses electricity. So it means they walk to temple. They won't turn on lights. And even some very basic things. They won't cook a meal. Now they may prepare one in advance, so they have something to eat at that time. And for those of you who are familiar with the Amigo carts, like the for those who are handicapped, for Orthodox Jews, they wouldn't use one of those either. And so they have some, and I forget how they operate, but they were able to get around the notion of actually pushing a button to turn it on. So for the Orthodox Jews, they take that very, very seriously, as far as not working and not doing any household chores and not using electricity and all that.
The
And
basic
so for Orthodox
concept is
Jews,
a special day.
yeah, for Orthodox Jews, then what that means is that they have to move to a town where they can walk to their temple. It's got to be close.
Wow. I've actually seen that, and I've heard about it, and I've just never had the chance to ask or to.
Yes.
How many Orthodox Jews do you think we have in our country today?
I don't know. Personally, I don't know any. I know just a couple of people who have ever kept kosher. And for those of you who know something about that, it's very strict dietary requirements. And one of the big ones that's kind of interesting is that you can't eat meat with dairy in the same meal. And I won't get into all the details on why, but you're also supposed to have separate dishes for meats and for cheeses and so on. So I've just known a couple of people who keep kosher, but I haven't really known anyone who is Orthodox.
And there's some biological reasons why that's not such a bad idea, and became part of the whole belief system from way back when people didn't understand the biology behind why they were doing this, but it was a good idea. So
you're not supposed to eat an animal and an animal byproduct, and
Right.
that's kind of the short version of the philosophy behind it.
We're going to go to Todd, and then we'll come back over here. Go ahead, Todd.
Yeah, right before you brought up the NPR, the guy that was on NPR. Well, PBS ran a whole series on the missing Gospels. I don't know if anybody's seen it.
I heard about it though.
Well, there's the church. The Bible we see today is, like you said, it's highly edited, and the church basically they didn't approve of women having any significant role. So anything they didn't like there had to go. So between the missing Gospels and the ones that were tossed out, the Bible you're reading today is edited and abridged, if you will, the way they wanted it. So the fundamentalists, I don't know how they can follow that literally, knowing that it's been adulterated like that.
That's the point that this guy who has done years and years of research it was trying to make. But that also came out in the Da Vinci Code, which made that so controversial. I mean, some of what you're saying, even though the Da Vinci Code was well researched, but it's not a.
It's still fiction.
It's still sensationalized.
Well, there was
Yes.
even a gospel supposedly written by Mary that was found. It's not included in the Bible.
And the book Holy Blood, Holy Grail actually is more realistic than what the Da Vinci Code is. But
Meaning fact-based
Yes,
and not
fact-based,
fictionalized
yes.
and sensationalized.
yeah,
Or you look at a book like The Red Tent,
yeah.
which talks
It's
about
amazing book.
women's culture in that time and how it was more of a matriarchal society than most people credit it with being. But that's the part of the story that doesn't get told.
Because the men didn't want it in there.
Because
Yeah.
because the church. at
Well,
the time
it's
was ran
the
by
same way
men.
that when people hear Wiccan, they think, Macbeth's three witches around a
Or-
cauldron with warts
No,
and long hair.
the
Instead of
craft.
thinking more like it has more in common with a lot of Native American traditions, for
Yes, it
instance.
does.
A lot of First Nation stuff about respect for nature and,
The cycles of life with
Yeah.
summer, spring, summer, and a lot of people. The Craft. That was a horrible, horrible movie for anyone to understand what witchcraft is even about. It, like, I hear so many
Yeah.
misconceptions that it's.
Yeah, it's not Dungeons and Dragons, it's something different.
He's got another, Donna, you had a question, didn't you, for?
Well, it's kind of a comment, maybe
Okay.
a question. And I hear a lot today about, like, I was this and then I became this. Or, you know, someone converted to this. And I and my husband now have, Nick is Catholic since the day he was born. I was raised Pentecostal, so we were doing the whole dancing, praying in tongues. And I was raised until maybe I was 13, and then I kind of went to a different church, a Methodist church, and then I found I was in a non-denominational church, and then I met Nick, and now I go to a Wesleyan church, but we're actually raising our daughter literally by faithful. In that, like, one
Or multi-faithful, or what?
yeah, one Sunday we go to mass, and then the next Sunday we go to my church, and then the next Sunday we go to mass. And like, even when we were married by a priest in a Quaker temple. And so we've done everything all along to actually appreciate each faith. And so I guess, like, I'm curious whether or not it ever occurred to people to do both and appreciate both and think that both are good.
Oh, absolutely. I was raised with both. We went to church with my mom, we went to church with my dad. I was sprinkled when I was a baby, I was dipped when I was about 10, you know. We were raised to respect the tradition aspect of it in both our families without ever being raised to think that one was absolutely right. We were raised to have a respect for the idea of religion and the benefits and some of the teachings in both the faith system. I think it's absolutely possible to do that.
And even though we are raising my daughter Jewish, obviously, we still spend a lot of time with my mother-in-law, and so my daughter knows that on Christmas Day at Grandma's house she's going to open a lot of presents, and sometimes we do go to church with my mother-in-law on Christmas Day. I think it's a really pretty ceremony, and really it's a nice service. So I like going to that, actually. And, you know, my mother-in-law will celebrate Easter for my daughter, and so she'll get an Easter basket, and so my daughter definitely gets some of, you know, the Christian faith as well.
Sure. And I mean, we talk Albanian to our daughter, and there are things that Amor does, you know, like when she gets up in the morning, he lifts her up and prays in Albanian, which is something his generations and generations of his family do. That's part of both his faith system and just being Albanian.
I think a lot of time when people convert, it's just the thought is that when we're younger, a lot of times religion is so forced on us, like especially in the Catholic religion. You had to get up and go to Sunday school 3 times, not only religion school 3 times a week, and then we had mass in school. It was so forced on us that I can see why sometimes it's unappealing once you're old enough to make your own decision. And sometimes, like in my mom's case, my mom was ill, they gave her last rites. My little brother had just been born, and because she was not able to attend church for 3 weeks, they would not baptize my little brother. So in my mom's case, that was very unappealing and sent her the opposite way. It did not fit her needs at that time. And I think that's what spirituality is all about, finding something that fits your needs.
That's exactly what I said earlier. And I had a similar experience. Like I said, you know, for me, after having gone to temple school and Sunday school and being forced to do so, I drifted away when I could.
I think those are all good points, and we're going to have to bring this to a close. And we'll, you know, if you guys can stick around afterwards, we can entertain more questions.